Welcome to the Weekly Social, folks. Everything Katy, Fulshire, Richmond, Texas. Today we have Adam Yetter with Yetter Care. Thanks for coming out today, Adam.
Thanks for having me, Richard.
You're welcome. We also have the lovely Priscilla Pfaff, a select title.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. And thank you, Adam, for being here. We have so look forward to this.
Happy to help.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your company and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a managing broker at Yetter Care Insurance Services.
Awesome.
And so we are focused like a laser beam on helping folks understand and demystify Medicare and helping them save money, get more benefits, avoid getting ripped off, which is so easy to do in such a complicated space.
It is.
So,
and thank you for doing the video to help promote getting you out for this podcast. So if any of you are watching and you have any questions, please post them. I don't know what level you can answer, but...
Because we have the great Jake
The
Fisher
great Jake
behind
Fisher.
us.
Of course. I want to ask you one question out of my own curiosity. What are common trapdoors people fall into that often get them in trouble?
I think the first common trapdoor that I see people fall into when it comes to their Medicare is they make it to the Social Security office and they mention that they have group health insurance through an employer. And what automatically is going to come back across through the glass window from the professional at the Social Security office is that, in that case, you don't have to apply for Medicare. Because you have group health insurance, you can actually just stay on your group health insurance and you don't have to apply for Medicare right now. And that's all totally accurate and it's true, but it doesn't answer the question of should I? Should I apply for Medicare? I don't have to, but should I still apply for Medicare anyway?
Sure.
And the answer to that comes down to a cost analysis, and it depends on how much does the group health insurance cost that's coming out of the paycheck. What kind of a deductible does it have? If we're talking about a group health insurance plan that's $100 a month out of the paycheck with a $500 deductible, that's one thing. But if I had
Most are not that, by the way.
Well, I had a lady that it was so interesting. I met a client in Katy last year, and when we met, she said, "Yeah, I've really liked my group health insurance at work, and I'm thinking about staying on it." I said, "That's totally reasonable." She said, "Yeah, it's not very expensive." I said, "Well, how inexpensive is it?" And she said, "It's $500 a month." Oh, okay. So that's a different animal. If we're talking about $500 a month with a $2,000 or $3,000 deductible, it's just important to do a cost analysis and look at the options. Now, on the one hand, folks are comfortable and they're familiar with their group and health insurance. They've been on it for a while, but the Medicare options are mysterious and they're kind of sort of scary.
Nobody likes change.
We don't know what it means. We're not sure exactly what options we really have.
Same
and
doctors.
So there's just a lot of folks who, because it's uncertain, they just would, I've got other things to do. I'm busy. I'd rather not have to deal with this. I've heard from the Social Security office that I can just keep my health insurance. And so I'm just going to put my head in the sand and do that and then put this off till later. And then in the meantime, they're accidentally just wasting money. Because if you are seeing the same doctors and getting the exact same health care, either way, but in one case you're paying more for it out of your pocket, it's just wasteful. And so that's probably the most common way that I see people bleeding money when it comes to their Medicare. The other way I'd say is pretty common. I'm going to talk a little bit in the weeds now, but I'm hoping that we have some folks in the audience who this might help, who are around this age or maybe know people that are. So
all of our clients are under 21. And all of our guests.
Maybe they have grandparents that they can pass this information on to.
Right.
So, I think a lot of folks know just enough about Medicare to know that there are gaps that need to be filled.
Sure.
I don't think that's that's pretty public knowledge that Medicare doesn't cover everything.
There's not a single swipe of the pen answer for everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And so a lot of folks look at Medicare supplement plans and to fill those gaps. And the most common plan and the most popular plan right now by far is a plan that's labeled Plan G, G like golf. And so what I notice is that Plan G is the easiest plan to explain to folks how it works. And it is the most comprehensive and the most popular plan, but it's also the plan that has the highest monthly premium. And coincidentally, I don't know if this is part of the reason why it's so popular or not. I don't want to be a cynic, but Medicare health insurance professionals that sell Medicare supplements make a slightly higher commission from selling Plan G as opposed to selling an alternative plan. It's not a lot different,
Okay.
to be fair, but it's a little.
People
And-
work pay plans. There's no secret in that.
and it's just worth pointing out. So there's an alternative plan called Plan N, like November. Plan N.
I've never heard of G nor N.
I know.
What's the one that D is the one that you normally hear about?
Well, yeah.
Is the supplemental part of it,
D
right?
D is what covers drugs, Part D drugs.
Okay,
Yeah, medications,
okay,
and so
okay.
that's a whole nother conversation. But just to plug the gaps in original Medicare, the Plan G policies, again, they're easy to explain, but they have a higher monthly premium.
Awesome.
The Plan N takes a little bit more explanation in terms of being able to explain how it works. It's very similar to Plan G, but it has a much lower monthly premium. And so for the average Medicare beneficiary, I'm really convinced that the savings and the value is going to be with the Plan N
Oh, wow.
Medicare supplement. And it's a conversation that I've come across client after client after client after client who's told me that they hadn't had anyone yet even start that conversation with them of trying to explain the difference between Plan G and Plan N, that other places that they went to for their information about Medicare made them think that really there was no conversation to be had at all. It was basically just
So
Plan
one and done.
Right. There's only one option. It's no one else would ever think about doing anything but Plan G, and that's just not the case. So
There's a pro and a con to everything is how I look at everything.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Because why else would they offer it in a
Yep.
different format? Or you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they're both fine plans. Plan G, think of it like this, Priscilla. It's kind of like driving a Mercedes-Benz.
Okay.
So you're not going to have a bad time on the road in a
Okay.
Mercedes-Benz.
Right.
It's going to be a really nice experience.
Right.
And
But if I need to have
it's-
it worked on,
it's just paying for it.
Yeah.
That's all. It's
Yeah.
all. So it's a great experience to have a Plan G Medicare supplement. Plan N, I guess, would be more like driving a brand new Toyota off the lot. Okay, so it might
Okay.
not have the same kind of total luxury experience, but in terms of getting you where you need to go, and in terms of value, it's going to be where the value ends up being.
it's
is for
greater.
the Plan N.
Yes. Yes.
So that's another thing I see too.
So that's the thing is so many people are trying to figure all this out on their own.
Yeah.
They're getting all this information in the mail, they're getting close to that time,
Yeah.
and they're getting all of this, and they don't realize that there are people like you that can help them
Yeah.
understand it and get the best plan.
Yeah, I wish that there were more people like me, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that all you do specifically? Is that your niche?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are focused like a laser beam on Medicare and Medicare services
Okay.
in my team. So this is all we do.
Go
So-
narrow, go deep.
Yes, we don't sell life insurance, we don't sell home insurance, we don't sell car insurance. We have
P&C,
we
property
have
casualty.
health and life licenses. Some of us have PNC licenses, but everyone that's on my team is focused specifically on Medicare because there's such a big need for it.
Right.
Because the calls that come in, you're not sure who's on the other line. You don't know them. You've never met them before. The things that come in the mail, it's hard to differentiate what's real, what's not, what's legit, what's not.
So on all the different, the G plan, are there several different companies you can go with for that plan?
Yeah.
And on the N plan, again,
Same thing.
several
Yep.
different.
Yeah, there's probably 400 different companies and carriers that would sell you a Plan G or a Plan N in
Wow.
Texas, something like that. And Medicare has the rules set up so that a Plan G is a Plan G is a Plan G is a Plan G. So
whoever brokers it or
Right.
facilitates it, it's the same plan across the
the
board.
contract actually reads literally the same.
Okay.
So think of it like buying a Ford F-150 with base model options in the color of white. The dealership in Houston might sell it for one price, the dealership in Victoria another price, but theoretically, whichever one you buy it from, when it comes off the lot, it's the exact same truck.
Okay.
Base model options of the
So
color
there
of
is
white.
variances in prices too?
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
wow, okay.
So the carriers can offer the Plan G or the Plan N contract at different prices to separate themselves from their competitors. But the price that you start to pay is not the same price that you'll pay in the future. So the carriers are allowed to, and they do, increase the price for the monthly premium for the Medicare supplement down the road. And none of us know ahead of time how much those premiums will go up.
Except for your experience that what you've seen in
That's
the
right.
past that
Historically.
has happened.
That's right.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And so my advice and recommendation when choosing a carrier for your Medicare supplement is to go with the carrier that has the largest national market share of Medicare supplement policies. because a carrier like that doesn't have any incentive to try to intentionally undershoot the prices on the front end, knowing that they are intending to raise the prices later to make it back, like a loss leading kind of situation. The biggest national market share carriers have no incentive to do that.
And you're locked in for a year. Every plan you take?
It's worse than that. So with a Medicare supplement, you may in fact be locked in for life, because to switch Medicare supplement policies, you have to go through medical underwriting. So it's kind of similar to like a life insurance application where they ask you 30 questions about your health. And if they don't like the cut of your jib, they might say, no, thank you, keep your money. We don't want your Medicare supplement with us. So they have a
discovery or incubation period.
And there's one exception to that, and it's the first 6 months after your Medicare Part B begins, which might be when you turn 65 or it might be when you retire.
What is a Part B?
Medicare Part B, yeah. So there's Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B, and that's what makes up original Medicare. Okay. And that's just the original Medicare legislation that was passed back when it was passed, set up Medicare Part A and Part B. And so you have 6 months to purchase that Medicare supplement with no health questions asked, but it only happens one time.
So you have a grace window.
What about A? That's for B. What about A? When do you take A?
Yeah, so Medicare Part A is what covers hospital stays. Most people, most of the time, get Medicare Part A for $0 a month. And so when to take Part A is less of a question or concern generally.
Okay, everybody kind of takes that.
You can either take it when you're 65 and continue on your group health insurance too. Okay. And it might save you some money if you find yourself in the hospital. If you had a $3,000 deductible on your health plan through work and you found yourself in the hospital and you had Medicare Part A already turned on, because why not? It's $0 a month. Right. Instead of having to pay the $3,000 medical deductible, you would instead have to pay the $1,632 Part A deductible. So that would save you that $1,300 and change. Yes. So that's fine. It's complicated though, because if you have a health savings account through your work and your employer's contributing it into the HSA, you're not allowed to have both Part A and an HSA where your employer's contributing. So it depends.
But if your employer's not contributing,
if you don't have an HSA or if the employer's not contributing,
HSA's health savings account.
Health savings account. Excuse me.
Sorry.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
These are acronyms, and even I am just trying to keep up.
Yeah. So going back to your question about being able to change once a year, if you set up a Medicare Supplement Plan G, and then a year or two later, you're listening to a live Facebook podcast hosted by Richard, and it makes you think that you might want to switch to a Plan N because it would save you money on the monthly premiums, and you investigate that, you might be able to switch, but it would depend on your health at the time. Okay, so if you're healthy, generally speaking, right, you'll be able to cancel the Plan G that you have and purchase the Plan N, no problem. But if you've had congestive heart failure or a recent cancer diagnosis or things like that, then you might not be allowed to switch. And that's why it's so important to try to get good advice about it on the front end, if possible, before retirement or before you're 65.
Wow.
So they need to call Adam before, not after.
Yes.
Yeah, sooner rather than later would be best.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Because, I know you've helped a friend of ours, greatly with making sure that they're all covered. And I think she said something about you changing some of the plans to make sure.
Yeah, so I'll speak to that for a brief minute. So that is a different pathway that some folks choose to go down with their Medicare benefits, and that's called a Medicare Advantage plan. A Medicare Advantage, also called Part C. So what separates my team and I as independent Medicare brokers, so I'm contracted with 30-something different carriers that offer hundreds of different plans among all these 25 different states that we work in.
For each part.
Yes,
each part of this that you have to go through.
So what sets us apart as a team is that instead of being health insurance agents who happen to sell Medicare supplements, we are independent Medicare brokers. And what that means is that we certainly serve clients that choose to purchase Medicare supplement policies, but we also are able to discuss Medicare Advantage, Part C, and Part D plans. And for that, there's an additional certification that the government requires, that Medicare insists upon, and it's a significant certification process. And so for that mutual friend of ours that you're talking about, Priscilla, that's actually a Medicare Advantage plan. And so with those plans, the Medicare benefits are being administered instead of the federal government administering the Medicare benefits. It's a private health insurance company that's administering the Medicare benefits. And there's a lot of rules that go into that federal contract to get that contract signed. One of the rules is that every Medicare Advantage plan must cover every Medicare covered service. So even though it's a private health insurance company that's administering the Medicare benefits, they're not allowed to receive the government funding from Medicare to administer the benefits and then decide, oh, we don't want to cover some of these things.
Exclude this.
We disagree with what, we don't think that should be a covered service. That's not allowed. So every Medicare covered service that's covered by Medicare Part A and Part B must be covered by every Medicare Advantage plan. That's one of the rules that's in place. And then there's other rules too. But actually, while we're on the topic, I wanted to talk about that. That's another thing that I see in the Houston area, specifically the Houston area. Again, we're in 25 states and I have clients all over the country. But, Houston is my backyard, and it's where I was born and raised, and it's where I grew up.
You're native?
I'm a native Houstonian. I'm actually a 4th generation native Houstonian.
Oh my gosh.
On my mom's side.
That is a rarity.
So what I noticed in the Houston area, it has to do with teachers, folks who are retired teachers or folks who have worked for the school districts. HISD, Katy ISD, Cy-Fair ISD. Okay.
Those are all huge, by the way.
Yep, big employers, and I have many dear friends who are working in the school districts now, and of course, friends of my parents who retired from.
So they were in the school district. Your parents were in the school district.
No, my parents didn't work in the school district, but it's just the circle of friends that we have a lot of educators and teachers in our friend group and everything. So, so TRS. Teacher Retirement System is what that stands for, and TRS has a group retirement Medicare Advantage plan that they offer to folks who retired as teachers. And what I found is that it's not always presented directly as a Medicare Advantage plan. It's explained as if it's a plan that goes along with your Medicare. Okay, you're a retired teacher, you're going to have Medicare or be able to have Medicare, and this TRS plan goes along with your Medicare.
It's a supplemental kind of insurance.
Do you see what she did, though?
Yes.
Exactly. I totally understand.
Yes.
You would use the word supplement, but it is not.
So, I mean, and a lot
Because
of
that's
companies.
what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like. It goes along with your
correct.
Medicare.
Right. A lot of companies offer that. Even Conoco offered that,
Yes.
and stuff.
Conoco, Shell, TRS, Dow, down in Lake Jackson. There's a lot of big group employers that offer these plans. Every single one of these plans is a Medicare Advantage plan.
So it's not a supplement.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
If it's not a Plan G, if it's not a Plan N, if you didn't purchase it individually with medical underwriting, or maybe not if you're in that age range, then it's not a supplement. It's a Medicare Advantage plan. And so there's going to be
an A or B plan.
It's actually Part C. Yeah, Part C. It's okay.
I can't keep up with
You're
this.
doing
That's
great.
why we have them here.
Yeah,
Yes.
listen.
Because
So
nobody can keep up with this.
Part C
No.
simply combines your Part A and Part B benefits, and it rolls it together into a Part C plan that a private company, like this year, it is United Healthcare that is administering the TRS Medicare Advantage plan
so
for
that can
retired
change
teachers.
yearly too.
That's right. Sometimes TRS decides to go with a different administrator for the plan. Right now, it's United Healthcare.
Okay.
So the reason I wanted to talk about that is to say that many of the plan options here in the Houston area, there's 55 different plan options that are offered here in the Houston area that are Medicare Advantage plans. Okay.
So 55 options of Medicare Advantage.
Right. Part C Medicare Advantage plan options. And so we live in a very populated area. And so there's a lot of carriers. I say a lot. There's maybe a dozen carriers that are offering plans that have that federal contract to do that. And each of the carriers has 3 or 4 or 5 different plan options. And they're really having to compete with each other to offer additional sweeteners. See, Medicare Advantage plans, they don't only cover what Medicare covers. They also can add additional benefits that original Medicare doesn't cover, like dental benefits.
It's above and beyond.
Exactly. Like a sweetener to bring somebody to their store to take home a bag of groceries from their store.
Right.
So they'll say, well, Medicare doesn't cover dental services, but we'll put in comprehensive dental coverage into the bag in order to attract you to our store to bring home a bag of groceries from us. Okay.
So they're baking it into the
or
cake.
hearing or vision. And many of these plans are offered at little or no monthly premium. So they're very popular. I would say probably about 2 out of every 3 Medicare beneficiaries in the Houston area is choosing a Medicare Advantage plan currently for their Medicare benefits to be administered. Wow. Okay. And so going back to the teachers and the TRS plan. So when I get the opportunity to sit down with a friend of the family who is a retired teacher, and we sit down at the kitchen table and we compare the TRS Medicare Advantage plan on the one hand, and we compare the superior Medicare Advantage plan option that's offered to everyone in the area, as long as they live in Harris or Fort Bend County. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, that all of their doctors take. So it is county
specific too.
It is specific to county. That's right. Okay.
I learned something.
No, that's exactly. It's county by county basis.
Okay.
When we look at them side by side, what we often find is that the superior Medicare Advantage plan that's offered to just anybody that has Medicare in the county actually stacks up side by side to be superior to the TRS plan, because it includes some of these additional benefits like the built-in dental and the built-in sweeteners that the TRS plan actually doesn't include currently.
And the costs?
And the costs end up going the way of the superior plan that is non-TRS. And one of the reasons why is that the TRS plan this year has a $75 per month monthly premium. And that sounds inexpensive. Mm-hmm. If you're used to your health insurance costing you $300 or $400 a month.
Yes.
75 sounds pretty inexpensive. But in my world, when I'm used to seeing monthly premiums for these Part C Medicare Advantage plans of $0 a month over and over and over again, when you compare $75 a month to that actually looks expensive. That's $900 a year in extra premiums to get us what? What are we buying with that extra $900 a month?
For less.
Exactly. Now
you're paying more for less.
Now this is in the populated areas like Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin. Okay, and I think that the TRS plan is a terrific plan for folks who are retired teachers who live in rural counties. And so if we live in an area that's 2 hours from anywhere, and there might only be 8 or 10 plan options that are otherwise available to us instead of 55 plan options, right? Then the TRS plan actually looks terrific. It's a great option. So I don't think it's a bad plan, but for folks that live in the Houston area,
more competition.
Exactly. And so if there's a retired teacher, or if you know somebody that's a retired teacher who is in the Houston area and they're planning on staying in the Houston area while they're retired, it's worth taking a look at. Sure. It's another thing that I see over and over again.
Well, how would they contact you to review this? Or your team and company?
Sure. Email is probably best. You can email me, adam@yettercare.com. And so if you have questions about Medicare, if you know people who have questions about Medicare, if it's been a while since you've had a Medicare review, then you might need YetterCare.
So, okay, that's where my mind was going, was when you were talking about this, the TRS policies. So if you've got a TRS policy, and then you decide to go to another carrier that's not part of TRS, yep. Is it easier to change plans not being part or being part of TRS?
It's the same. It's not going to be any harder or more or less difficult to change plans either way.
Except if you do, then you've got health questions.
Well, no. So for Medicare Advantage Part C plans, Priscilla, there's never any health questions asked. When you enroll in a Medicare Advantage Part C plan, that's only the G and the N, the supplement. Okay. I will say this, though. One of the pieces of feedback I've heard over and over again from retired teachers is that one of the reasons that they haven't yet ever explored the option of really sitting down and doing a good apples to apples comparison to see what their superior option would be, mm-hmm. is that they were told that if they ever switched out of the TRS Medicare Advantage plan, that they would never be allowed back in. And that's true. But if, in fact, we could see all of our same doctors with another plan that cost us less money, that gave us more benefits, if it is the case that the TRS plan happens to be inferior, then why would we care about not being allowed back into it in that case, right? And so, but I'm glad you asked about that, because that's something that comes up. And TRS could also be a stand-in for any of the big group employers that offer their own Medicare Advantage plans to their employees. Again, Dow, Shell does, TRS does. I mean, there might be other big employers that are offering a plan, and some of them are terrific. Some of them, when I look under the hood, I mean, I'm like, look, you keep that plan.
Stay.
That's yes.
Right.
I'm looking at it. And I'm telling you that is the superior plan. I mean, but it depends, and it's the devil is in the details, is what they say.
Right. So you need that professional that knows all of that and has that understanding to talk to, because there's too many details. It's just like buying real estate. There's too many details.
Too many spinning plates.
And, that you have to get through to get to the closing table to purchase the home. So it's the same way. And I think I think they don't know that you're available. That there's someone like you that understands all this and puts it all together and reviews it for them in the best way.
Sure.
If they've got what they need, don't change.
And that's the other thing, is that it makes it more challenging for me to do my job, because there's so many folks who are afraid of losing what they already have. It's such an important topic because it has to do with our health care. And I wish
People
it wasn't
are more afraid of what they're going to lose versus what they're going to gain.
Yeah, and I wish it
They
wasn't
are.
the case, but there are folks that lack integrity that work in the space. And so
We have the same issues in in every industry.
100%.
when it comes to Medicare, you can count on me. If it's not broke, I won't fix it. The best vote of confidence or feedback that I can possibly get is by being introduced to someone who my client loves, or someone who you trust, who you want taken care of, the same way that I would want my parents, my family to be taken care of.
Okay, so I'm gonna reverse a little bit. How did you get into this?
Yeah, well,
It's a great story, so I gotta get you to share.
It was a confluence of a few things. So I've been an insurance agent full time since 2010.
Okay.
And I've been working in the industry, but I wasn't focused on Medicare until around the same time that my dad retired. So my father retired a few years ago, and he asked me a question he said, "Hey, are you helping people with Medicare yet?" And he said, if not, exactly, if you knew my dad, you'd know he did it on purpose too. But he said, if not, it's fine. We can find somebody. We don't really know anybody that offhand that could help us. But he said, I just wanted to check with you, son. If you were, I would want to use you and everything. And I said, no, not at this time, Dad. But it got me thinking about how come, why not?
Why does Dad bringing that up and putting that in my head?
Well, I realized that my dad, he's a member of the Rotary Club. He knows a lot of folks. He's
Rotarian?
from Houston, and so I realized if my father doesn't know someone right offhand that specializes in this and that can help him with this, wow, there must be a lot of other people that don't know somebody that can help him with this. There must be a big need, and it got me thinking about it. And I realized that additional certification that I mentioned that the government requires to get involved and start assisting people with Medicare Advantage and Part D plans, it is such a big barrier to entry. I mean, it's basically like a 3-hour college course sort of level. I mean, it's quite a bit. Okay. And it's you have to pass the exam with a 90 instead of with a 70 to get through it. So there's a lot of otherwise competent...
So you need to know your stuff.
Yes, right. There's a lot of otherwise competent insurance professionals that take one look at that and then they walk the other way and they go, well, I don't want to have to do all that. And so as a result, the folks that are inside that brick wall, so to speak, that's been built around it, there's just not enough of us running around and helping the community and serving people.
Right.
And
for the community to know enough people to know there are people to help them.
Which as a business owner, once you're already in the space... It works out pretty well. You've got a kind of a government created barrier to entry built around your business, but for the community and for Medicare beneficiaries and seniors, it's unfortunate. And so I got involved when my dad started to retire. I helped him and my stepmom, and then like I said, we've got 8 agents on our team now, and we're in 25 states, and so we're
awesome.
Doing what we can.
And we've been trying to get you on since last year.
Yeah.
So
that's how busy.
When I say that he's a slippery one, he's hard to get hold.
Yeah.
But once you hit a certain date, I mean, it's nonstop. The last quarter of the year for you? Is that correct?
Yeah, October 15th through December 7th is the time that folks can change their Part D drug plan.
Okay.
And they can also enroll in a Medicare Advantage Part C plan if they choose to, or adjust which Medicare Advantage plan that they have. during that October 15th through December 7th period.
Okay.
That's also the period where Medicare actually starts advertising on TV and announcing to everyone, now is the time to
So it's a
think
huge
about your
spike.
So it's a huge spike. Yeah, it's kind of like the Super Bowl
But
for
could
Medicare
you-
agents.
But could you get all the information that they need to know as of October 15th in July and go over it with them to
Oh, yeah.
make that change?
So
So-
you tee it up
Do you?
before that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have to, I didn't know if the plans kind of waited until then. To,
Listen, so my team and I, what we do most is we are educators, mostly.
Right.
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 And so we work full time, year round, 365 days a year, give or take, as Medicare professionals. And so the best time to learn about what your options are or to educate yourself about Medicare as a beneficiary is whenever you happen to be curious about it. And whether that's in April or July or October, I mean, it's, there's not a best time, so now's the right time kind of situation
Right.
when it comes to learning a little bit about your own Medicare. And even if it turns out that we discuss things and the strategy is going to be to hurry up and wait till October, it's still good that we, began talking about it when we did.
Oh, 100%. Because then you're not at the end and making a quick decision.
Yeah.
Fire drill.
You've got time to think about it and,
Yeah.
oh, wait, I didn't ask you about this, Adam, so I need,
Yeah.
what about this supplement, and doing all that, you've got time to process. We all need time to process.
Yeah. And for the folks that are going to be retiring and they've been on group health insurance, but at some point that'll wind down, I'd recommend the best time to start discussing options and educating yourself is about 3 to 6 months before that retirement date, to give us plenty of time to be able to put our heads together
Okay.
and find out the strategy that's going to, work the best, for you, and then
Right.
execute it. And for folks that are turning 65, I would recommend about, again, 3 to 6 months away from that 65th birthday
Okay.
is the right time to start talking about it, because it leaves us with plenty of runway to be able to execute whatever strategy we need to.
Proactive versus reactive.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah.
100%. Oh, that's
Quick-
huge.
Before we wrap up, we got a couple things coming up. We have a blood drive that we're going to be helping with the Ballard House again.
Right. Right.
What
Because
is the dates on that?
I think you were pretty successful in your last blood drive.
Yes.
I think you helped 60 people.
60 people lives were saved, so thank you everybody for coming out
Yes.
and supporting us and doing
Yes.
that. We run out of blood every single day. So
the-
whether you support ours or somebody else's,
Please do.
please just
and
donate
so
blood.
the blood bank reached back out to Richard and Dave at the Ballard House, and please, guys, y'all had a great success. We need this blood. Can we schedule another one? And so they did for June, I want to say 8th. It's first part of June. It's like that first Saturday in June. So
We'll have more information to come.
100%.
This just came across the radar.
Right, and so this just got scheduled, but it was due to the Gulf
The
Coast
huge success.
blood bank just reaching out and saying we really need y'all's help. So it
Well
is
done. That's great.
important.
Yeah.
Yes.
And please help support CAP's Animal Shelter. We are doing the new weekly oldest pet there to adopt out. It's been well received. We're getting thousands and thousands of views, so thank you for supporting us, and hopefully you guys are getting some of the animals.
And then we had a discussion about caps, I believe, last week. The one thing that people don't think about and we don't use very much anymore is newspaper. Caps needs that for these animals they're taking care of. And so I've got my dad already set up, start saving what
Newspapers.
little bit of newspapers, we get now. So we need the community to really kind of focus in on saving those newspapers, and we just drop them off by caps once a month or something.
And they have
You
a
know?
wants list on there, which is anything from disinfectant wipes to bleach to chewies. I pick something.
Right.
So if you can help in any way.
But I thought newspapers, you get that one that's thrown in,
free.
nobody opens, but just start saving those, and that's a help. That's
Yep.
a benefit to them.
Yeah.
So the more we can do and give back, the better.
Absolutely. But any final thoughts before we close out, Adam?
I've shared what I'd like to. Do you,
Awesome.
Priscilla?
You are awesome, and I think we're going to have a boatload of questions come back in.
Yes.
And need to maybe bring you back in right before that rush happens again. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Or
great.
a reminder in July or something. You know, hey,
look at that. She's
let's
already
go
she's
through
already
it.
Yeah.
Already reeling it in. Yes. But it's so important, and we want our family members, our parents and grandparents taken care of. So you add that for them, and we know that they'll be okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
thanks for the kind words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in and supporting the channel, guys.
Bye, guys.